The answer to the question, what does a blind person see, is so weird. You'll watch this and at the end be like, the human brain is trippy, and you will not be wrong. For me, because I lost my sight over time, there were 5 stages. There's blurry, headless, psychedelic, hallucinogenic, and gone baby gone. The blurry stage is the easiest one to understand. It is exactly what it sounds like. Things started to become blurry. People didn't even know I was going to have a blinding disease. They just thought I needed glasses. Doctors actually misdiagnosed me and gave me far-sighted and nearsighted lenses for a while, trying to figure out which type of blurriness I had. The glasses obviously did not help, and a few years later we moved into the headless phase of my blindness. My disease, which was just originally called macular degeneration but was later going to be reclassified as Stargardt's disease, started eating my eyesight away from the center out. As a result, I had a complete blind spot in the middle of my eyesight. I didn't even realize I had the blind spot there, and when I was talking to people, I would constantly be looking off to the side of them because dead ahead, there was nothing. So when I actually wanted to look at a person and pretend like I was making eye contact at them, I had to make it look like they were headless. Where my eyes were pointed exactly, there was nothing there, but I knew I was probably at least faking making eye contact. The headless phase was weird because talking to people with no heads is weird, but there was one moment when it became the truckless phase, and that was kind of terrifying. I was trying to cross the road one day and looked as best I could and didn't see anything coming, but about halfway across the road I heard something and kind of looked sideways to make that blind spot move, and there was a truck barreling down on me. Turns out the headless phase, when you're talking to someone just a few feet away, gets pretty big when something's in the distance, and that's how a giant truck got hidden in my blind spot. I ran fast and did not get run over. The psychedelic phase is when something called floaters started to appear in my eyesight. Everything was already really blurry, I was losing the middle, and then these purpley, bluey floater things started appearing and would just kind of move around like amoebas all over the place at random times throughout the day and night. With everything already being blurry and not all the way there, these things were actually making equilibrium a little tricky. It was kind of like just sticking your head in a kaleidoscope and trying to stand upright. Eventually, I got used to it though, and I did hear some medical explanations for floaters. This is not a medical type video, but the one that kind of freaked me out was they were telling me that there's blood dripping in the back of my eyes, and that's just some light reflecting off of the blood. Great. The hallucinogenic phase really started to trip me out because at this point, most of the cells in the back of my eye were dead. They were not getting any information whatsoever, but every once in a while, there was still a live photoreceptor in the back of my eye that would get a little bit of information. Now, obviously, I'd spent most of my life before this being able to see at least reasonably well. I had a catalog of images that I'd seen throughout my entire life. So these little photons would pass little bits of information back to my brain and being like, what are we looking at? The image it was getting basically made no sense whatsoever, but the human brain being what it is, it wanted to try and make some sense out of it. So a lot of times I'd just be trying to walk my way down the street and I'd try and look up ahead and there would be a trash can. In reality, one of the trash cans on the sidewalk would be there, but my brain would be like, that's about the size of a small baby hippopotamus. I remember once recently I was meeting someone outside of a surf shop and my brain was literally telling me they were a baby giraffe. You're not a baby giraffe, are you?
Not lately.
Always wanted
Not lately.
Not lately.
That was last
We
night.
got like 2 weeks going into Halloween, so
There you go.
now that you inspired me,
Yeah.
maybe I'll be a...
Give me an idea. I like
This
it.
blind guy told me I looked like a baby giraffe, so...
I don't feel like I was obsessed with baby zoo animals throughout my entire life, but for some reason, my brain does generally try and assemble what it thinks it's seeing into some sort of a zoo animal. Gone Baby Gone is another one that seems pretty self-explanatory. It's gone. Or mostly gone. I've still got a very small amount of those firing photoreceptors in the back of my eye to the point that I can tell the difference between light and dark. When I'm inside, I see a grayish smoosh of stuff. There's not enough photoreceptors firing to do that baby zoo animal thing anymore. It's all just kind of a soup of gray. When I go outside, the few remaining light photoreceptors that I have go crazy and everything gets crazy bright white. And this is actually why I wear sunglasses most of the time, because I get major headaches when I go out into the light. I don't see anything in particular except for this big, bright, white, maybe yellowish craziness soup, but it does give me huge headaches. The strangest part is that while I'm technically seeing the gray soup or the white soup, my brain will still tell me that I'm seeing things from time to time. When I'm talking to my fiance or friends that I've known for a while and I know what their faces look like, I can actually see their faces when I'm talking to them. A lot of you noticed that I have a rather large t-shirt and sweatshirt collection, and a lot of them are really old. And while I like new t-shirts t-shirts and people describe them to me and I can feel them and get a pretty good idea of what they are. I really like the old ones because I remember seeing them, and when I put them on, I feel like I'm seeing what I'm wearing. So technically, with all those dead cells in the back of my eye, I'm not really seeing anything anymore outside of smushy white or smushy gray. But whether I'm talking to familiar people or walking through a familiar environment like my house, my brain is trying to show me things that I've seen in the past. But I do remember as a kid saying, please don't let it go all dark on me. I don't want it to be all dark. And technically, I got what I wished for, weird as it may be.